The next stop on our family's round-the-world journey was Amritsar, India. Amritsar sits close to the border between India and Pakistan. Most people go here to visit the Golden Temple. A holy site for Sikhs, the Golden Temple sits in a pool of water and has a very calm and mellow atmosphere, at least for India. Worshippers gather around the temple of all ages and sizes. We had a peaceful time there. From Amritsar, it's easy to hire a car for the short trip to the Wagah border crossing. Wagah is the crossing point between India and Pakistan. It's quite busy and heavily used. We had heard quite a bit about the spectacle of this border crossing, but it was difficult to go from the peaceful atmosphere of Amritsar to this. It got pretty crazy. So this is what happened. Hours before this border crossing between India and Pakistan closes, a crowd starts to gather. People gathered on both the Indian side and the Pakistani side of the border. Given as how we were in India, we sat on the Indian side. An hour or so before it was time to actually close the border, people started to run back and forth carrying Indian flags, and the crowd would cheer like crazy. Eventually, people even started dancing. At first, it was just a small group, but more people came along. The crowd just kept getting bigger and bigger until it was a regular dance party in the heat of the summer. The locals were even okay with the tourists joining in. Announcers worked up the crowd into something that sometimes approached a frenzy. Eventually, horns warned us that something else was about to start happening. The first thing we noticed was people in uniform getting ready to walk in front of the crowd. And walk they did, arms swinging high. But it wasn't about to stop at arms. Eventually, it seemed like both the Indian and the Pakistani officials were mostly interested in who could kick their feet up highest in the air. It was like the diplomatic version of a dance battle, with each side struggling to kick higher and higher and higher into the air. They also sometimes did some kind of gestures that seemed like they might have been rude in some contexts, but each side made these gestures at each other and nothing ever came of it, so it was difficult to say. The crowd watched, cheered, and urged their side on to high-step victory. You can see in this clip the Pakistani side dressed in green. As the sides gathered together at the very gate, they would do a ceremony where they would take down the flags and finally close the gate between them. But not before some serious high-stepping battling happened. Finally, the flags came down, were folded up, and the uniformed high-steppers took the flags and marched off with all the ceremony and pomp they could muster. Watching this, it was difficult to know what I thought of it, whether it was just like a harmless pep rally where the two sides were expressing national pride in a harmless way, or whether this was intense nationalism between two countries that have gone to war multiple times in the past generation. Either way, we found it fascinating, but we were happy when we got to escape the craziness of the Wagah border crossing and head back to calm Amritsar.